Hello, everybody. So we are back, and I cannot believe this is the last day, man. It goes pretty fast, doesn't it? I mean, like it goes like a month goes super fast, and we still have the reviews on Saturday. I sent you guys the invitation for the meeting, so it's gonna happen on Saturday. It's gonna be Los Angeles local time, and let me just record this first before we do anything else here. So I sent you guys the invitation to the meeting happening this Saturday. Is going to be at 9 in the morning, and then another one's going to be 9 at night. And the reason I make those two separate ones is just because I want to reach more people. You know, sometimes people are just like the time zone is not compatible with the class, and I want to make sure, like, okay, so if it's 12 hours apart, maybe I can actually, get you guys to actually interact with me a little bit easier. So just like follow the instructions in the email, you should be able to have access to the same Google Drive and drop your stuff in there. If you have already stuff from the previous reviews, like you can either like delete them or if you want me to compare with the old stuff, it's like you can just keep in there and just like put a little note and then just guide me when you're online here with me. And then I can actually just sort it out in real time.
Hey, Chris.
Yes.
You say end of day Friday again? Is that like Friday night or is that like Friday morning? Like, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I can. Yeah, it's always tricky because of the time zones. But let's say right now we are on Thursday. Let's see, Thursday 9:30 p.m. right now here. So let's say, for example, like from now, it's almost like, let's say like 30 hours from now would be like kind of like a deadline. But people normally don't follow it like it's like too much. I would say like just don't drop anything before, like let's say like an hour to 2 hours before of it, because that's kind of like the time that I'm going to be waking up and like trying to download stuff. And then if there's a lot of stuff that's brand new, probably gonna create a little bit of a mess for Google Drive to download everything. But yeah, anything you guys can upload like all the way till like Saturday morning, as long as it's not like 1 hour to 2 hours before the class starts, like the meeting starts. So I'm fine with that.
Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm gonna send you like a reminder, like in the group as well, and another email, probably like a couple of them tomorrow, kind of like reminding, like, okay, from the time of this email, like 30 hours from now or something is our meeting. So make sure that you have everything up. So just make sure that you guys are in the loop. So yeah, today I posted this little ad in here. That's just like, it's not an ad, right? It's just like a little post on my Instagram. Try to, it's like get people to take a look at the class and see what they think. Because the thing is, like about those classes, I hope they are sustainable in the long run, but I'm not sure, So my intention is to actually keep running them for as long as it's okay and fun for me to do. But it's not something that I'm gonna die if I have to stop doing them eventually. It's like if the demand is not as big anymore, just like that's why I have like the kind of like this content now that's kind of like a self-assisted. People can just sign up and then watch themselves without like us here having like a live interaction and stuff like that. But just to see if it keeps itself like running for a little bit, But the thing is, like I told my wife, I mean, like if I have enough money to keep the school running, which is basically like just the cost of the website running and the other stuff I have in place, I would say like maybe like between $4,000 and $5,000 I need a year, which is not much. If I can make enough money for that just to keep this rolling, for example, like the website, so you guys can have access for as long as possible, with all the streaming stuff. That would make me happy, but I don't have like hopes that are gonna be growing a school or something like that, So it's kind of like it's just my little side job right now, and the intention is to actually grow into something a little bit different, which is basically like trying to get more into original collectibles. For example, like create some of my own designs and 3D print them, get them to become casts, like and sell like resin kits and get a little bit into fine art as well. I have someone who's actually carving some of my pieces in doing some tests, carving them in wood right now. So it's kind of like with a gigantic robot, right? So that would be cool, It's like to have some fine art and then resin kits in place. That I think would be more thrilling for me than the classes, just in case if it doesn't go through, of course. But if more people have, are demanding more classes, I'm definitely going to be doing that because I think it's fun, and definitely like it's a good help financially. But it's like I have to think about the future. It's like what's going to happen, especially with people partying your stuff. You never know what's going to happen. But anyway, so as usual, right before we start the class, I start like doing some poking and tweaking in the model, right? And then yesterday I did some more work in the hair, but not much because, like I said, this is going to take me, I think, like a week or more than that to actually get the hair in the ballpark. So you can see the intersection is still happening there. It's being very difficult actually to find the offenders in there. I'm having to add a ton of guides, and I'm not liking that much. So I might have to actually at some point, like if I get really upset with it, I'm just gonna trim them and just like turn them into something else and then just get done with it. But at this point here, what I did in relation to what you saw yesterday, so this is the one I had yesterday, right? Which was like the hair was closer to the head, so like very low volume. And also the color was like much blonder. So what I did, I actually tweaked the melanin to look a little bit darker, so it looks more natural like that, because her natural color is definitely more like this. So that's more her natural color. And then especially this one here, right? So I'm kind of like going a little bit in between the blonde that was the recent one that she got all those highlights and something a little bit darker like this, like a dark brown. So it's kind of like an in-between kind of thing, just trying to make it a little bit more natural. And the tweaks I did, let me just cancel this because we're not going to be rendering for, it's going to make everything slower for us. So let's just store this one so I can have as a reference for later if I'm tweaking stuff. So I can just show you what I have so far. So the model looks like this. And that's like the tweaks I did in terms of volume yesterday. So to add more volume, what I did, actually, if I go back here, I'm gonna turn off the hair and turn on my guides. So basically, like I pull everything together out and then start like, of course, like getting those ones coming from here and bending them together just to try to drive more of them in there. But basically what I did for the volume overall, I just like made everything unfrozen. And then I just like pull the whole thing at the same time. Let's see, undo, oh, don't crash on me. Let's see, the tool settings, just make sure that I have the invert frozen off. So basically like I did this, it's like I just pulled the entire thing kind of together just to get more volume. But then just before the class, I was back into adjusting it. So I pulled everything to add more volume, but then the stuff that was underneath got pulled as well. So I started like, okay, let me freeze those ones that are in a good position now, and then get the other ones and start like actually getting closer to the face. But then obviously I got some intersection in there that's not helping. So this is gonna be a project, like I mentioned before, it's like, it's a matter of like, see, like I'm starting to add way too many curves in here to try to drive some of those guys, and I have to remove some of them. And also there is no like a design going on just yet around here. So I'm gonna have to start like building them into clumps to get them to look more natural in there. And then when you see the hair itself, that's how it looks like. So there's a lot of course, like blending that's happening there. So it kind of looks natural in a way, right? But it doesn't have the design I want just yet. So like I said before, if I want them to actually follow kind of like really force a clump to happen, I'm gonna have to actually source from multiple places. For example, if I have those guidelines, those guys actually making this shaping here that's actually going to the side, right? Like across her kind of like the ears, on top of the ears. I'm gonna have to actually, instead of like going very localized like I have, for example, like I could maybe like have like 3 or 4 in here, I'm gonna have to get like some from a related area, for example, from here, and then it started to spread out like this, but then get closer to the tips, I start getting closer and closer and make into a clump, right? So if I source from multiple places, I can create like those more elegant and more and fuller strands as well, right? Instead of like something that's relying heavily on the interpolation here, that's what's happening. So it's almost like those ones are trying to go that way, but then the other ones from the underneath is actually, they are actually driving everything down. So the average of those two actions in there is actually creating this weirdness right here. And we're gonna have to try to avoid that too. So you see, like those ones are really forcing there, but they are only coming from this little corner here. And you see those ones here, they're coming from right here. So if I can make those guys actually talk to those guys, because at this point, what's happening is that there's a conflict in here, right? I mentioned before, like yesterday, so those guys coming right from the roots in here, those right here, those should be the topmost hairs in the overall design. So what those guys here are doing, going deeper, it's already wrong. So I'm gonna have to actually dig them from there and make sure that they are following the structure here. If I do this, then they're gonna start talking to those guys here. They're gonna be kind of like the same family in there. And I'm gonna start adding a similar design. So that's the thing, you cannot trust like that you're gonna add a bunch of them from a little area and the thing's gonna just follow it. They always try to fight each other because they're trying to interpolate with the next ones, right? So that's why it's important to actually really send like a clear message to Exchange, okay, I want this stuff to really go that way. And you do that by clicking like in multiple areas. For example, instead of like just here, I can get like a related area, for example, a little bit deeper right here, and then some a little bit more spread out around there, and then bring them into a point just to make sure that Xgen really follows that. Because right now it's just like, it's a mix, right? Those ones are falling, but then those ones are fighting it, and then you create some kind of in between, and then you have all this weirdness going on. But the important thing here is that I'm happy with the amount of volume in the hair, right? Probably gonna reduce a little bit right here at the top right there, but the overall around here on the sides of the face, I'm actually happy with it. So that's a good sign because I can actually, you know, just like keep tweaking and eventually get this to look more natural by designing some of those strands like to really come into very specific shapes. If I'm getting in trouble with curves themselves, like I said yesterday, I can just freeze some of them and really sculpt them into any shape I want. Like if I want like curly or whatever I want, you just sculpt them. So it's very flexible that way. You know, it's like you can try your best to actually use the curves to guide everything, especially if you're working with animation, right? You need the guides in there to actually create the dynamics and everything, which is not the case here. We're just doing a portrait. But in the case of the portrait, you can actually do whatever you need to do, you know, to make it look more natural. The thing that's missing here, like that you see the most, is like the flyaways, right? So if you look at the hair like this, it looks kind of like a helmet, right? Like it looks like everything is so straight. There is no imperfection, and that doesn't help with the natural look. So what we can do today, among other things, because you're going to be trying to use this time like in a good way, right? Like this is the last one. Maybe get some more questions and stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about the filters I use to process this stuff when I post on Instagram, the kind of like plugins that I use, and little things about that. But also do a little bit of grooming when it comes like to this more random stuff that we need. So let's just close this one. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to hide the entire hair, keep her bald. And let's do a little grooming here for the flyaways. And then when I say flyaways, I mean like it's a little hard to see here, right? But you see like there's those little guys all the way around there. There's those little guys in there, and some are here. And around the hair, let's see what else we have. See if I can get the bigger picture. All my references are so this one shows a lot of them, right? See those guys in there and there. So that's add a lot of naturalism to it, right? Obviously, the hair, the way it is right now, we are missing a lot of this kind of stuff as well, right? Obviously here, because the hair is being held by the glasses, you're going to have some stuff that's kind of forced in there. But it's nice to have some clumping, getting those strands to actually collect together into bigger chunks. So I'm going to have to do this, probably not as high frequency as here, but maybe like half of that to create a little more natural effect to the hair. We also have to do the blending between the hair and the peach fuzz. I can do a little bit of that just to show how I approach it, and then do the flyaways. So let's do the flyaways now first. And I'm going to start with the same process as usual. So I'm going to go to Symmetry, Topology, select the middle. I'm actually going to hide the peach fuzz as well because that actually adds a lot of performance issues because it gets so heavy sometimes. And then let's just select our golden old select brush and then face. Let's just paint a mask here. And again, like this one is going to be a mask just for the flyaways. So it's not like you need to be completely precise about anything at this point. Just like, you know, it's like create like a rough mask that's just going to cover closely to what we expect. And then later we can actually use like as suggested by Hamza. Actually, he posted his experiments with the density map that actually works if you bring the map from another app. So for example, if you paint in ZBrush like I did with the eyebrows yesterday, it's going to work. So we can actually use a map to control this. If something is coming out of bounds in there, you know, around here too, then we can actually force it into a shape. But the problem about the density masks is that you cannot paint them inside of Maya unless you have a different set of UVs, right? That's just like one single UDIM. And that's basically explained by Autodesk in that post that I posted to you guys, which says, by the way, that post is from 2016, and they said they are looking into it to fix, and so far I don't see anything fixed, which was basically, they say like there is nothing that that stops XGen from using multiple UVs and multiple UDIMs. The problem is with the 3D painting tool. So if you're trying to paint anything in 3D within Maya, it doesn't paint across UDIMs. So that's the main problem. It's not like the XGen is totally fine with the maps. It's just that you cannot paint within Maya. So we can still do something about that by painting outside of Maya. But so I think around here should be a good compromise. So like it's not like a lot of detail right now. Oops. Not a lot of detail right now. It's just enough to get some of the flyaways in place. So we're going to start with very, very spread out, right? Like we're going to create a new definition here, a new description. But this one is going to be much less dense than anything else. So flyaways. And let's say like the approximate count here for that area was around like 120,000 hair strands, hair follicles. That was basically for the hair, the main hair, right? And but for this one, we're gonna do like much less than this. So let's see, 599 is already too much. Let's try maybe like 0.3. Let's see how many we get like this. If it's too little, that's actually is not bad. Maybe a little bit more than that. So let's just undo it and then do it again. Let's try a little bit more than that. Let me try, let's do half of it. So like 300 of them. And then the length here are gonna increase since we saw that's a little low, a little small. Let's see if we can get, am I gonna use curves? That's a good question. Let's try to use curves, at least like to guide the base of it. I think I'm gonna use some curves. So it doesn't matter, let's just skip this way for now. So I have those guys in there. And then, so let's do some curves here. Let's add some curves. And it's always that mystery if it's gonna work or not because it's XGen. So let's go to add modifier and then guide. I'm gonna click the edit and make sure that I have the top clicked. Actually, not this one, sorry. The guide, I'm gonna click the guide first and go to attribute editor and then create. So now I have all those guys in there. I'm gonna click this guy here and then expand its own sculpt. And that's the part that's always like amazing, right? That you never know if it's gonna work or not. So I'm gonna click this guy here, which is the density brush, which is like, it's like garlic to Dracula to me. And then I'm gonna go to, let's see if I can do that. I'm gonna try, let's see, to the tool settings. And so the tool settings for the density brush, and I'm gonna try to do a flood. And sometimes what happens here, so I have the set value to 0, right? So it's supposed to remove everything. Sometimes it doesn't show like it removed anything. So I'm gonna just do it anyway. So you see like I did it, but it doesn't show anything. It doesn't seem like it did anything. So sometimes all you need is just a refresh. So let's see if it works like this. I never tried with this one, but let's try. So if I do like an in-guide base and I do a rebuild, yeah, it's gone. So just by clicking rebuild, it basically like it's gone, right? So it's a refresh problem, and that's another thing that plagues the XGen. So you have to be careful of that. If you click something and you see that nothing happened, it's probably like a refresh issue. And the thing is, like next time, if I close Maya right now and I open next time, I'm probably not gonna get that. It gets unstable over time. You know, you kind of like, I don't know, like there's trash that accumulates in memory or something like that, or the cache system that is used for it. There's something that happens that it gets corrupted very easily. But so now we're gonna actually add some of those guys manually, right? So I'm gonna click this one. Again, I'm gonna make sure that I have the guide selected, right? Not this guy, not the sculpt for the main flyaway, but the guide itself. Otherwise, we're gonna be guide changing just the little fuzzies, right? And not the actual hair. So I'm gonna click the guide, edit is on, and I'm gonna click, let's add some, start with the middle here. Holy smokes, is this gonna crash? Oh, ha 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 ha. Great. Okay, let me just copy that address in there, because one thing that I noticed as well, just move this away, is that, let's see if I can navigate to that. Yeah, I was about to save it because I thought it could happen, but then I was like, nah, it's gonna be fine. So let's see, users local temp Chris, and then let's see if it's in there. Let's try modified. Well, I don't know if I see it here. Photoshop is there. I don't know if it's saved just yet. Let's try. See if it's, okay, just saved. Actually saving now. All right. So let's see. One thing that I learned to do, I'm gonna show, is that sometimes I don't trust that that file is gonna be safe. So what I do before I even reopen Maya, I create a copy of it. So that's basically the file that's actually saving right now. And it saves in ASCII format instead of like binary. So it takes longer because like it's a bigger file. So I'm gonna put like xgen crashed again. Fix it. Oh man, go out to desk. I don't know. I think I sent this on me like 100 times already, and I told my neighbor too. So there you go. So I'm gonna go to this guy here, and you see like I have 455 megs. I'm gonna just see I have a bunch of XGen stuff in there. Look at that. Oof. Anyway, so I'm gonna just drag in here and just gonna create a copy of it because I want to have a backup of that file. If something goes wrong and Maya decides like to just like eliminate altogether, so I'm just gonna keep that copy in there. So let's reopen my Maya, and if I reopen Maya, it should offer to reopen that specific file, and we can hope that's gonna work. What I had to do actually in one of those previous classes, I had to actually clean up my entire scene by selecting all the elements of the scene and then exporting selected and then importing it to a brand new scene, and that cleaned up a lot of the crap that I was having with Maya, you know. And then from time to time, in general, Maya is basically like that's what I have to do. Sometimes you go and you look through the list of your outliner, even when you start revealing all the hidden nodes and everything. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you try to fix the scene. You can try to run the cleanup tools or anything. It still doesn't work correctly until you actually export everything and import into a brand new scene, and then things work. So I might have to be at that point that I have to do it. So I'm gonna try to open and see if it's gonna work. If it doesn't, I'm gonna try to clean up the scene. So this is part of the whole process as well, right? Like we cannot have a fantasy that those things don't happen. Even like with the experience I have like working with this stuff, and it's just like it's bound to happen. It's gonna happen. So I'm actually happy that it didn't happen like more often, that we actually had those crashes. But it's always I keep preparing people. It's like, oh, we're gonna start working with XGen and it's gonna crash. And sure enough, my Nostradamus prophecy comes to fruition. Okay, so seems like he preserved the hair in there, so that's a good sign. But I still don't trust anything about the scene because he just crashed. So what I'm gonna do here, and you can try to do that as well. If you start getting stuff too unstable, you might want to try this. So I'm gonna just select everything. And the only downside of this whole thing is that my settings, my Maya settings are not gonna be carried with it. So I just have to set it up, but I mean, it's gonna be fast anyway. So let's see, I'm gonna select everything. And I don't know if I can bring those guys, the top, front, side, I don't need it. And the perspective, let's see if I'm using perspective at all. No, I'm using perspective too. So I'm gonna just ignore those guys, gonna just select my important stuff here. Make sure that I have everything selected. All right, like those guys, let's see, maybe expand everything. I don't think I have to expand. I think it's just like selecting the top nodes should be more than enough. So I'm gonna click here and then do manually those guides and everything else. Let's do everything manually. And then perspective, blah, 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 blah. And perspective 1 and 2. So I'm gonna export this entire thing. Export selection. I'm gonna do Maya binary. Preserve references, blah, blah, blah. I don't need any of this stuff. I mean, I don't need to change anything. It's all there. I'm just gonna do like the default. And export selection. And I'm gonna do like, what I normally do is like groom, clean, scene. Then we put 1. Clean scene, oops. Scene, chubby fingers. Okay. So let's export that, and then let's actually I'm gonna compare the size of the scenes, because sometimes in the you know, the process of cleaning those things up, sometimes the scene shrinks. But I don't think it's gonna shrink that much in this case here, because of most of the memory being used for this file to be this big is coming from XGen. When you remove XGen from the scene, it becomes like super small. So it goes like from 10 megabytes to 400 megabytes if you have a ton of descriptions and stuff, you know. So so that's saved. Let's just, I'm gonna make sure that I save this one as well, just in case, as the last one to kind of work. I'm gonna save it as well, because I don't want to lose anything. And like I said, like those Maya ASCII files, sometimes they get thrown away. So let's see, okay. So let's import everything, and just gonna quickly just set up like my settings for rendering, and that's about it. That's all we're gonna need to do, because the camera should come with the animation that I have in here, which is like for each angle, and that should do the trick, I think. Okay, so let's do new scene. Let's make sure that we have, when we click open, if it goes straight here, that means the project is set to the same folder, so that's okay. So actually it didn't change anything, right? It kind of like it became the same size. So yeah, let's see what happens. Let's see if it's gonna be more stable. Normally it gets more stable, so. Instead of that, what I'm gonna do, I'm not gonna open it, I'm gonna just import it, because I wanna clean everything up. So for the namespaces, I'm gonna use like just the clashing nodes. So actually, no, just like all nodes, clashing nodes, and then this string 0. So basically like no namespaces in this. This way actually cleans it up. When I bring everything, it shouldn't bring like with namespaces or anything. So let's try this. And then for here, it's gonna be Maya scenes. Scenes, this one, scene clean. And let's see what happens. It's gonna be funny if I do this whole process and I click on it and it crashes again. It's like debunked. Right. Coming up. See, with those settings, apparently the namespaces were respected, so nothing weird happened in there. The viewport here got weird, right? Because now I don't have anti-alias, so we can see like it's all crunchy. So let's do this first in the renderer. gonna click in the viewport options in here, the option box. Let's go scroll down to the anti-alias, and just smooth and add the anti-alias here. And I can actually do the sample count all the way to 16. I think that's nicer. And so it's back to normal. And then the camera I was using before was camera 2. So this is the one here. You should have all the keyframes. But because I don't have the render settings preserved, like I said, I'm going to have to set them up. I'm going to have to just change the resolution first. It's going to be a square. So it's going to be like this one. Let's keep it 900 by 900. And so I can actually delete this one, the renderable camera. I don't need the perspective, so I'm going to delete it. I'm going to keep just the perspective 2. And then let's see, here I'm going to just put the base name, Jess. I don't know which the letter I have now, Jess H. And so this one is going to be name, number, and extension. So I can actually generate the sequences, right? So I can run those renders overnight and just get all the renders in the morning. And that's about it here. So let's go to Arnold render. This is going to be initially 6 for us to do some tests, and then when I render overnight, I'm going to do 8. So it's going to be 6 for now. And then I'm going to just keep everything at 3. Let's see if we have anything else here for advanced auto bump with an SSS, which is going to improve the effect of the SSS. So for example, like if you have like tiny little pores and stuff, you just make sure that the micro, how can I explain? When you have like the properties of your object set right here. So let's say you go to your Arnold for the properties of the object, right? The mesh. If you have down here subdivision, see, like I'm subdividing 4 times, but I have a ton of HD geometry applied, right? So it's going to be subdividing 4 times to actually break the silhouette and all this stuff, right? And but you're not going to get like a deformation into the pores themselves too much if you don't have more iterations, right? So sometimes when you use just 3 here, it might be really fast to render. But if you compare, for example, a render done with 3 iterations versus 4, or even 5, there is a big gap. You know, it's like you're really going to see the pores being displaced for good. So you can actually see them going in. And then in that case, the subsurface scattering is going to be behaving correctly because it just goes in there. But in other cases, if you're using like the smaller numbers, like 3 or 4, it's not creating like a real deformation of the surface. So everything that's not being represented within the deformation of the surface, Arnold actually shifts to kind of like a auto bump, and it becomes bump instead of like displacement. And in that case, it basically like if you don't have this auto bump in SSS, it doesn't scatter inside of the bump itself. So if you have like tiny micro detail in there, that's not going to be scattered. The scatter is going to stop around here, and that's about it. So that's why I'm turning it on. It adds the render time, but it looks more realistic. So that's what I'm going to do. For filter, just to remind you guys, even in the documentation, sometimes they say like you can experiment with all those types of algorithms they have for the anti-alias. But sometimes they, you know, I think I read this at the manual, actually, in the Arnold manual, that sometimes you just keep Gaussian and then you just tweak the value in here. So if you go lower, it gets sharper and sharper. So sometimes like 1.6 does the trick for me, even lower than that sometimes. I'm gonna keep that one. And then everything else gonna keep ray depth. You can just increase this stuff, let's say like 8. I don't need like 8 spec, but I mean, it's not gonna make a huge difference. Arnold's smart enough to stop when he, for example, here in subdivision, right? Like it has like maximum subdivision, 255. It's not gonna subdivide 255 times, right? But I mean, like it's gonna stop at some point. If you put like 16 here, it basically like the result is the same, the render time is the same. It's not gonna change, but it's like options you have. So here you're gonna go to 16 for the size of the buckets rendering at the same time. So if you have multiple processors, they kind of work together like little bees and build the scene faster this way, instead of like having a big bucket size and then wait and wait and wait until it resolves it. So it's good if you have multiple. So that's good. So this is the scene now, and I'm just gonna be saving it again before we can try to do the hair. Let's click this one, flyaways. Let's turn everything off here. Oops, not this guy, sorry. Tripping. Making hair like that, like that, like that. Shaved, nice. Okay, so let's try it again. Let's save this one as our new scene. And if everything goes right, you're not gonna get crashes like that again. But I was wrong before, so let's hope. Less saving before we start doing this, which is like a little bit of a waste of time, right? But it's important that we get into those things because you're definitely going to get into the same similar problems when you're dealing with XGen. Let's see. I really hope they fix this stuff, man. It's an amazing piece of software, seriously. Like XGen, it's really awesome. It's just like so buggy that hurts, you know, because you can see the potential. The thing could be like rock solid, and it's just frustrating. Okay, so sculpt actually under guides, this one. I'm gonna just expand this one. This is gonna be my sculpt, and I'm gonna try it again to add some of those curves in there, those guides. So let's see, size, smoothness, blah, blah, blah. Let's turn off my symmetry. I don't want that. Okay, let's pray. Oh, that worked. Yeah, there you go. That's better. Okay, so it's always thrilling when we don't get a crash. Let's try this and increment it. So I'm gonna make it bigger. Well, it didn't give me a crash, but at the same time, it's not influencing anything. So it's kind of like a, you know, it's not working. So that doesn't matter. So let's try this. Oh man, I hope it saved my mask. It didn't save my mask, I think. Yeah, it doesn't save the mask. Holy crap. Yeah, it disconnected because of the whole process. It disconnected completely. So I think the guides are dead. Actually, before you do anything, I had this before. If you just add one guide sometimes, it doesn't do anything. You have to add a second one. So let's pray that that's the deal here. Let's see. Yes, that's the deal. So that's one thing that I did a mistake. I made a mistake, like in one of, I think it was like the June class. I was actually trying to groom the eyelashes, and you're gonna see my frustration in the video because I was placing one and it was not reacting at all. And even like I think like even after the second one, but as soon as I had like 2 or 3 of them, everything started working. I was like, holy moly, I'm not one to, you know, it's like to pay attention with XGen because that's not okay. But now you know. Now you know. I'm actually preparing your spirits here, guys. So you're gonna get that kind of crap all the time. So let's see. Let's get this stuff. Sculpt guide. So this one, the invert frozen effect. I have to keep like double checking all the time. Just get those guys. And if it's too much, we can actually reduce the amount of stuff we have here. So it's just gonna bring them kind of like a little bit more, maybe like following the hair a little bit more, just a little higher perhaps. And then we're gonna use a lot of randomness to all this stuff. And I already have way too much hair in here. Just by looking at it, it's already a lot of stuff. So I'm gonna slash that by a lot. So let's click another one, create another one around here. And then let's make sure I have those guys here, maybe here, there. Yeah, it's a lot of them. I'm actually surprised how many I have. It's just like do a bunch and I'm just gonna spike them out. Let's do a bunch like this. And right in the middle, and here. Let's grab all of them. I can use actually symmetry for this. Let's grab everything of world X. Just gonna bring everything out like this. Spiky. So I can actually have a notion of how many of them I have as well. So I'm gonna start bringing some of them out. Need more interpolation around here, I think. But actually, I don't. I mean, like we don't need a lot of them to give the effect. So let's see if this is. It's like it's hard to tell if it's too much. I think it's actually looks like a good number. It's just that we need like to really add a bunch of modifiers in here. Let's start doing something about that. Let's see if we can just turn off those guys for now. And I can just modify this, add some, you know, it's like noise modifiers first, and then try to get them to get a little bit more curly and stuff, and then we can actually tweak everything and bring them down again. But I want to see how much we are deforming everything. So I'm going to click the top node. We're going to add a modifier. It's going to be the noise. And you see, like, they are very noisy at the tips, but not quite noisy right there. But we need them to get very messy. So let's try this. So the frequency I'm going to make smaller. The magnitude are going to get bigger. A little bit too big, a little smaller for the magnitude. And we're going to actually tweak this. You see, like the very root of the hair is not doing anything. I'm actually going to add a little bit closer to the root here. So let's switch to spline. And spline around here too. And I'm going to click right here and start like the mass a little bit earlier. So you see, like right there, you can see this is the root around here, right? You can just go higher. Keep the root kind of locked in place, because if you start messing with it, it gets very weird. But as soon as you can, you just start like tweaking this one and you get like a much messier kind of thing. So now I got this mess in there. Let's see. This is just like, it's not going to be what we are looking for, because we're going to get something that follows the hair a little bit closer, right? This is just crazy hair right now. So it's like she went like in this slide on the children's amusement park or something. Yeah, but it's at least you can see the character of them, and maybe you can add some curvature as well. So some curling. So let's try to go to fly away again and add another modifier. This is going to be the clump. But as you saw yesterday, we don't need to actually use the clump as a clump. We can actually keep it unclumped or make it like almost like no effect at all. If you go to 0.5, it has no effect here. But then you can use it to help it generate some curling. I'm going to just curling here. Just go to the curve and increment that. Actually, let's get from here, starting at here. And then let's try to curl it even further. And I mean, like this one is the one I show you guys, right? Like if you crank this one, you can get like very, very, very curly hair. For example, like 8 here, that's what you get right there, right? But that's not what we're looking for. In her case, we just want like some confusion, but not so much. So something like this, for example, it has a nice character, you know, it's like pre-electric right now. So let's try to bring everything closer to the hair now, to the hair shape. Now that we know the character of it, how it's going to look like, right? And another thing you can try as well, you see like some of them are starting to break up in there. You can go to the top of them, which is the actual hair, not the guides. And you can always go to the base and increase the amount of interpolation from the CV count. So let's do, to create like nice curves and everything, let's try this 120, especially because you don't have a lot of them, should be fine. And then you're going to see better curvature. Still not enough in there because it seems like, let's try 200. Yeah, it's because like, I think my noise is a little strong combined, like it's a combination of the noise. Let's see without the noise. Actually, the one that's causing the most trouble is the clump. So let's try to resolve. So the noise first, just gonna bring it down slightly. Magnitude. And I can actually preserve the length as well. So I don't need it to get crazy. So I'm gonna preserve the length all the way. And then when you go to the clump, let's see what we have. So the curl is in there. And then I think this might be a little bit too strong. So let's try something like this. Let's see, spline, spline, and then tweak this one a little bit. It might be a little strong. Yeah, I think it is strong a little bit. Something like that. Because it's creating some crazy ones in there, which can help actually, but they are getting too crazy. It might be, yeah, they are getting a lot of weirdness in there, which can be helpful sometimes, but it looks like it's too weird. Let's see if I can get, the rebuild is actually not doing much about them. Let's see if I can just like smooth them out if that helps at all. So let's see, flyaways, I can add another which one is that the sculpt. I'm just gonna click this one. Let's try to just smooth it just as a test. So this brush here is the smooth brush. Let's try. Yeah, this one helps actually. But I mean, like, this is kind of useless right now. I'm just doing it as a test, right? But later I can actually use it to get a little bit better. But it's kind of cool that you have some of those super scraggly ones from time to time, just that I don't want like the overall look of it. And you can see that everything here is like a tape, right? So to fix that, you can actually go to your main shape, click like the tube shade, and then that becomes a tube now instead of like a flat plane. And also here, scrolling down to Arnold tab, you can switch from ribbon to thick. So that helps as well. And then let's try to conform this more to the hair itself now. So we have this one, this one I did as a test, like just for this moving. I might not be able to use it once I start changing things too much, but let's try. So let's try the guide. Let's get some of them in here and bring them closer to the scalp. Closer than those crazy ones. I have a ton of them. The cool thing is we can actually tweak the amount of hairs, right? So we don't need to worry too much about having too many of them. As long as the character of the hair looks good, you can actually play with let me get this asymmetrically, otherwise it's gonna be a pain to tweak it asymmetrically. So let's do this, bring some up there. Some of those guys are gonna come down, and they're starting to get like very compact and weird right now. It's a little too electric, right? It's because we have a ton of them, and they are quite random. So we can actually tweak that to look less of that. So this guys here, they're starting to look a little nicer now. Kind of like follow the same direction, but not necessarily following the same, you know, it's like being part of the family in there, right? They're just like messy. It's kind of like, that's what we want. We want like following the direction, but kind of like riding on top of this wave in here. Just gonna pull it out. On there. Just enough like mess. So those guys here, they're kind of getting a little high, which sometimes is not a bad thing, but they're too high. Just gonna bring it down. And probably like shrink those guys a little bit, maybe. Not shrink, maybe just change direction, then bring to the side. Change the size here too. And maybe even like add some curve. Just like I wanna add some randomness, but without, no, having the control, but without controlling too much. It's almost like I wanted to keep kind of like random as I move those guys. So they look good in there. It's just like very, very away from the surface. I'm just gonna try to keep a little closer to the surface, especially around here. Pull it down. And some of them, I mean, like this is just to give you an idea, right? Some of them we can actually keep like making them a little longer, so they can actually go all the way down. I can actually use this one, right? That's the grab brush, which is the one I use to stretch things out. And then later, where is it? Oh, I'm using the invert frozen again. So I'm gonna bring this down. So all those guys are starting to, you know, come lower now. So I can actually get more of the randomness down there. And I can do this with all those guys. And then I can just rebuild it, because at this point, all the how you call the CVs, they're a mess right now, right? So we're gonna just bring this one, gonna bring this one down, mess up a little bit. Same with that. You can see those guys propagating there and getting weird. And yeah, it's basically like just to give you guys the idea itself, right? You can play with it and you can do a much better job, obviously, just like by tweaking it. But now, let's say, like, for example, like if this stuff is too crazy, let's just smooth this out. Oh, wrong one. No, that's the right one. I thought it was, okay. Yeah, weird. Let's get this one here so it's easier for me to just pull it straight away. And when it's starting to break like this, it's like you see the curves in there start to break. That's when you need to rebuild it. So just gonna go to Guide, Attribute Editor, and then Base, and then I'm gonna rebuild them. So now I get a nicer curvature, and the CVs are probably very well distributed as well. So let's say like if you're happy with something like this, then the idea is to actually see like how many of them do we need, right? Like I mean, like, is it too dense? It's like too much stuff going on. If that's the case, just pull this one before I go forward. You're gonna rebuild it too. Got this guy. Actually, I'm doing so lazily here. And like I have to make like a smaller brush and maybe like freeze those guys if I don't want to mess with anything, right? But I'm just going here full on instead of like paying more attention. So you're just gonna bring it down and then conform to the hair a little bit more. Pull it from here. Oh, it's not even obeying from that angle. See from here? Yes. Okay. And here as well, just bring it closer. And this guy here is bothering me a little bit. Not much. I mean, it's good to have something like this, but just go to the side. Yeah, in that case, I think we got plenty of stuff that we can actually use. We have to make sure that the hair is actually has the same thickness and everything that mimics the actual hair we are using. So let's see the flyaways. Let's see the settings we have. We have the base, no, flyaways right here. Oops, five shapes. Okay, so let's. This is thick. It was already all the same. Like the tube is on. So I'm using the scale for the hair like 0.01. And surprisingly, I'm not using any taper. Oh, this is the flyaway, sorry, the main hair. This is the one I want to copy. So this one here, let's just copy it 0.14. I don't have any taper, but I mean, like, it doesn't need to be exact the same. I don't know if it's possible to copy the attributes from one to another, one just copy and paste. But I don't know if you guys know anyway. I don't. So let's see, 0.14. Let's copy this one to this guy here. Actually, not this is the guide. So flyaways, this guy. 0.14, and then I'm gonna just do the same, kind of like bring this one slightly down, and then this one slightly down, a little more than that, and then bring everything up. So basically, like this one is a little thinner in the root and much thinner in the tips. And now the thickness of the hair itself is the same. You just have to make sure you have the same shader assigned to both. So I'm gonna click this one. I'm gonna go to my shader network and graph material. So Jess hair is there. I have that little ramp that I assigned, right? That's in the base color. That's just to add that little gradient that we were talking about. So I'm gonna click the flyaways, and then let's assign this one as well, because I'm not sure. But yeah, now it's assigned. So both of them are sharing the same shader now. So when it comes to the amount you have right now, you can actually go to, you can do either way. You can go here in the render settings, for example, under render settings, and you can just say the density multiplier is going to be half of that, so 0.5. Or if you want to have like a visual reference of what you're doing, you can just go here to the density multiplier, just like 0.5. That's half of it. And you got just a few of them now, like this. Maybe I want 0.75. It looks a little bit more interesting. And then if I need more, the only way to know is when you do the renders and see what happens. So let's do like a quick render of one part here. We cannot spend too much time with the render because it's really time consuming and we want to do more stuff. So let's do a render here. Let's see what happens. Do you guys have any questions so far about this stuff? I mean, like, it's pretty straightforward, right? It's just like, it's a little boring, I guess, because it's kind of like repeating some of the stuff we already spoke about.
So when are we gonna do the camera?
The camera?
Yeah.
Okay, we can do this.
constraining with the light.
Oh, I think we did that one, didn't we? That was like, you mean like the constraining the light so it follows the camera?
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that one before.
Oh, okay.
I think we missed it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like it's a simple constraint. I can show it again, but yeah, it's super simple. Yeah, let's just wait for this one to start. But meanwhile, let me do something here since we are rendering stuff and we don't want to waste time. So so when I have like a raw renders, for example, let's get something here from any of my previous models. Let's see, open. Let's get let's see, like even Stan. I think Stan is actually out of the box. It looks kind of okay, but I can show you the type of filters I normally use. So, for example, images, and then those are all processed. But then, if I get the reference file here, for example, the 12. So 12, this is actually the original one. So I used like as alpha channel instead of transparency. So I'm gonna click this one. I want to preserve anything that's in there. So this is like the raw render, right? So it's like the you know, the color is not maybe like that great. And then normally when I start doing anything here, the first thing I'm gonna show you guys, I think I spoke about this before. There is a set of filters I use that's called Alien Skin, and they have one that's called Exposure. So in order to use that, you have to be in 16 bits. 32 bits doesn't work. 32 bits is very limited for a lot of filters, including Photoshop's native filters. So we're gonna have to switch to 16. And then when you switch here, you switch from local adaptation to exposure and gamma. So I'm gonna click that one. So it goes back to what we had before. So it's pretty much the same. It's just 16 bits now. And then under the filters here, you're gonna see there's Alien Skin Exposure 2, which now should be actually, let me see what's the version they have. So Alien Skin Exposure. Yeah, they have already Exposure 4. I got this one maybe like 2 years ago. So that's basically what it is. It's like Exposure 4, and it's a little bit pricey. I mean, like it's like 149 bucks, right? That's the price of it. The upgrade, 79 bucks, 89 bucks. But this is the bundle, actually. This one is the Exposure 4. You can buy just this one. So it's like 119 bucks. So it is a little bit expensive. I bought it because I really like the amount of filters it comes with it. So if you go to the filter itself here, I'm gonna go to Exposure 2. And it should open like an interface on top of Photoshop's interface, like this. So it covers, if you're familiar with Lightroom, Adobe Lightroom, you're probably gonna get a little familiar with the interface here. It's kind of like, it's almost like a software for treatment of, image treatment, right? So here you can see like this is the overall intensity of the effect. If I turn it off completely, so that's the original, that's after the filters, right? So the types of filters you can pick here, everything you can customize manually. And that includes, for example, when I do this kind of stuff, I'm trying to remove some of the redness of the skin. So I'm gonna show you where I tweak this stuff. So if I have, if I go here, for example, the clarity, vibrance, all this stuff, I'm reducing the vibrance, so it's desaturating a little bit. The clarity, I'm increasing a little bit. If you go too far, it gets very crunchy like this, right? It gets super crunchy and post-processed, kind of like almost like HDR image. So I'm gonna keep it very slow because I wanna get a little bit more detail, but without going crunchy like this, right? So I'm gonna keep like very, very low like this. And exposure, I'm cranking a little bit. So from 0 is going to 0.22. Sharpening, I'm not using the sharpening here. I think there's another spot where you can actually increase the sharpening. So this one is actually, I'm not doing anything with it. The color here, I'm actually increasing some of the blues in the image. So I have the preserve brightness, and then you have two controls. One is here for the warmth and warmer and then cooler. So I'm actually making the image cooler naturally. I always like cooler than warmer. For some reason, you know, it's like that's why people sometimes they don't like the skin I make. It's like they look like dead or something. I like the bluish tones better than the red tones, but and then you have this auto control here, which is like you can pick any color you want, and then you can just increase the density, and then he applies that tone to the entire image. So it's a combination of going lower with kind of going cooler, and also adding some kind of like cyan filter on top of the entire thing. My personal preference, I guess. And then the midtones here, this is the saturation, right? So if I reduce the saturation of the midtones, it goes like this, and then goes higher, gets completely saturated. So I tend to saturate a little bit, but not much. So the midtones, and then you have the tone curve. I normally like don't play too much with it. You have like the color strength you can play with. The vignette in here, I normally don't use the vignette right here because I use the Photoshop one. I'm gonna show you later. And overlay, this is cool that they have like all those effects. For example, like if you want like nice frames and stuff, you can add like borders like this. And they have a bunch of them. So we have like damaged stuff. So you have like all those super cool ones like this, right? So for old pictures and stuff. And even like within the ones that they have in here, you can actually play with the zoom, for example, and tweak that. You can actually play with the opacity of it. And you can reverse things like turn upside down. So you can add more variation as well, you know. And they have some lighting effects like this, kind of like a lens flare kind of thing, a bunch of them. And then texture to add some like a, you know, it's like kind of like a scratched surface. And they have like a like noisy stuff as well. So for example, like if you get like a dust and you get like a very dusty image here. So you get like all this dust assigned to the picture. I really like the filters they have, you know, it's like it looks very cool. And then the sharpen is basically like this is the place where I use it. So here you can increase the sharpness, right? So you get like softer or sharper. I tend to increase, if I add a little bit, it's very small. I tend not to crank too much. Sometimes like we are tempted, right? Because we do this, all this detail in the computer, in the 3D software, and you want to make sure that you read everything, right? Like I want to see every single hair that I put in there, and I want to impress people that. But at the same time, when you do that, it kind of kills the effect. You know, it's like it doesn't look as realistic anymore. You want to see some imperfection in the picture. So if you're going to increase the sharpness, I would increase just a little bit. And then you see that there's this effect in here that's very blurry around it. And the cool thing is that it's almost like simulating like an old camera. It has this lens warping here. So if I turn it off, turn down like this. Oh, actually, this one is not coming from here. I think it's coming from the focus, from this guy. Where is it? The bokeh. It's coming from the bokeh. So let's turn off the bokeh so you can see what this one does. So let's see the type, opacity, lens warp, right? So this guy here, you see, it's kind of like warps around the entire image. It's not showing that much because I already had a render done with some depth of field. It's not going to show that much, but if I increase the radius in here, then you're going to start seeing a lot of it, and then opacity as well, right? So that really blurs everything. And then if I reduce the radius in here, sometimes you get like some interesting effects like this, right? So it gets a little dreamy. And then obviously you don't need to do like full on warp. You can just like make it a little bit bigger than that. And then that's gonna make like the whole image go like that. And if you go this way, basically it's just gonna do the borders. As the higher you go, the blurrier it gets the borders, right? So that's an option to use. I use this effect, for example, if I'm doing like black and white pictures and stuff to get like this kind of look of vintage stuff. But then sometimes if I'm just trying to make a more natural look, I can go with the simulation of the depth of field by just using the bokeh. So under the bokeh in here, you see, if you turn it on, so that's basically like the same as Photoshop, right? Kind of like you can actually put the size of the bokeh, and this is the fall off right here. And that's basically, you know, it's like how you control it. Bring it all the way up. That's pretty high, so like that. So yeah, basically like you can control everything by hand, but obviously it comes with all those awesome presets. And on top of that, you can create your own presets. You just click that one. And if you like the tweaks you did, you can actually save for later. And then obviously it's not going to work for every single one. So for example, for Dick Smith, when I was doing all those renders, I was actually using those type of renders, filters here, right? For those renders. But then for this guy here, maybe some of them are not gonna look great because I have to compensate for the type of skin and all that stuff. But I guess the black and white ones are gonna look really cool, you know, if I add it like this. And then obviously, like I have some of the fawn stuff. I have like a Giger that I still have to go back to. You know, a bunch of them. And then there are the presets that come with the software. So under coloring here, you have this awesome collection. It has like the color for like the cinema kind of effects. And then, let's see, faded, lo-fi crossed, a bunch of them, you know. So for example, like you can get like a real film looking by using something like, for example, like, let's see, aged. They should have like a bunch here. So you have Agfa and Polaroid and Kodak. So the Kodachrome, you know, it's like, so it's basically like, it's almost like a Instagram filters on steroids, you know. It's like you can get a lot of super cool effects and kind of like out of the box. So that's, I think, like in my case, I paid the $100 and I am happy with it, you know, because I use it all the time. And for example, if I want to go for something totally vintage, let's see if this one has it. Actually, there's a one part here that's just like black and white stuff. So you have colory here and you have the black and white ones. So all of those are just like black and white filters or sepia, right? So if you want to go like a straight away sepia like that, or like a damaged sepia, you know, it's like, it's a very cool collection of filters. So that's basically what I use for the most part. But let me just do like a very mild version of this. So let me just pick one like randomly here from my collection. Let's do like the Dick Smith one. Let's try maybe like something like this one. It's like, didn't change much. Let's see how much it changed. Yeah, it actually changed quite a bit. So yeah, for example, like if I'm happy with this, which I'm not, but if I'm happy with this, it looks a little yellow for my taste, but I apply it. So it creates a layer on top of the previous layer. And then obviously here I'm gonna look and I'm gonna say like, okay, maybe I need a little bit more of more exposure. So I'm gonna click in here and add a non-destructive exposure layer. So let's see this guy here. And I can actually do like a gamma correction maybe instead of exposure. Just make things a little brighter. And then crank this exposure just a tiny bit. See, something in between. Something like that. It's like, it's pretty bright right now, right? Sometimes you don't want to go too bright. If that's the case, you can actually, you know, reduce the intensity of your layer. So I can go all the way from nothing to full on. And then let's say if you're happy with this, normally what I do, I just like copy, select both of them. And then I just drag into this little thing here that creates new copies of them. And then I just click and say merge layers. So now they are merged. And then I can go to this guy here. So under filter, you have the lens correction stuff. And the lens correction stuff is the one that you can add like some chromatic aberration, which you should be careful with, otherwise it looks a little crappy. So for example, like if you want to add some chromatic aberration, and also to add some vignette, right? You can actually play with this one. If you go negative, you're gonna add like the negative vignette, darker like this, or it goes positive, gets a little bit more dreamy, right? And you can play with the midpoint as well. So that's kind of cool. And then to introduce some chromatic aberration, which is basically like that off-register thing that we know, right? That kind of like goes like the colors kind of like are offset from each other. You can just play with this one because the whole intention of this filter is to actually fix chromatic aberration. But in this case here, we are doing the opposite thing. We are creating a chromatic aberration. So the way I do it, I normally bring, for example, like one up, one down, another one up. If I go all the way, you're gonna see the effect very clearly. See, like there is this out of register, like greenish and purple effect. You're normally gonna see this probably like in areas of high contrast, like the eyebrows in here. You can see like it's very off register right now. So instead of like going full on like this, I try to keep kind of like maybe like 30 to 50% of that. And then it creates a little bit of that, just enough to trick the eye. Right? And then I apply it. Oh, another thing that you have to see here is that you have the option to have like a correction for your scale for your image. So for example, if you do this auto scale here, you actually use almost like it becomes kind of like a fisheye lens, right? It kind of extends the edges, but it kind of like inflates the whole thing a little bit. And then chromatic aberration, let's see, remove distortion. That's another one that's interesting. So you can actually remove distortion, but you can actually add distortion as well, right? So if you're trying to, like, for example, you render something, it looks a little bit too wide angle, you can actually tweak in here, or you can create funny effects like this, you know, stuff like that, like a fish.
I like that one.
Yeah, like a fish eye. You're gonna see some black cats in there. Yeah. And then once you're happy with that, you just like press OK, and then you should have like an image that's slightly different from the original one, but at least you're gonna have a little bit chromatic aberration, you know, and things like that, just to add some imperfection to it. So my whole idea is to do push the image as far as I can within the software, and try to get the renders as good as possible out of the box, so I don't need to do a lot about it. But that's like it's kind of like this romantic idea, you know, it's like of doing something that comes, you know, it's like kind of ready. So I kind of like I try to crack the code inside of Maya. But if you're a comper, for example, someone who works with composition, like composition, yeah, I don't even know. Then you're gonna have to actually pay attention to like all the channels you're exporting, right? So in Maya, for example, you would have to export all those channels separately. So you're gonna have a specular channel, and ambient occlusion channel, and all this stuff, and then you would comp the image back in within Photoshop. And I did this in the past, even like in my old class, I did like this whole example about bringing the whole thing and then reassembling the whole scene, and then having absolute control about the specular and all that stuff. But over time, I just like, I think I embraced that philosophy that Pixar used to have. If you watch the documentary about about Finding Nemo, right? Finding Nemo. You're gonna see that they talk about that. That one thing that they mentioned is like at some point they went too realistic and they have to pull back and do more of like a cartoon version of it. And the other thing was that they are asked about how they deal with all the passes, the render passes and everything. And they said like back in the day, you know, it's like we try to get the image to look as good as possible out of the box, so we don't have to go through a lot of other processes. So I thought like it was a cool idea, you know. It's like, and because here I'm treating everything almost like a painting, you know. So I like having a little flexibility to do some color correction at the end, but it's not like I'm gonna go too crazy with it. It's like everything else you saw during this class. It's all about simplicity, you know. It's like you try to get things. The shader network is simple. The painting of the skin is simple in a way, the way I paint it. But it gets complex with the amount of time you spend like doing more and more passes, right? And increasing the complexity of everything by spending more time in it, but not because the process is complicated. All the processes you saw so far, if you break them down to the, you know, it's like to a pore, right? It's like everything, it's simple, but it's complicated to nail how the things interact with each other, right? For example, when someone was having trouble with the pores, right? Sometimes like it's a simple concept. You just sculpt the pore and then you just multiply across the skin, or you create an array of pores and then everything should work. But the thing is like all the variables in between, right? Like it's the depth of it, it's how the fall off actually affects the entire thing, right? So how far it stretches out until it connects to the next one, right? It has to be like this very fine line. It doesn't go as far as touching the next pore, but it goes as far at least halfway, so they can actually have a connection in between them. So it creates this network. So like I said before, I mean, like everything is very simple if you break down to the micro thing. But then putting the pieces together is where the skill comes, you know. And then it's a matter of like how much you're gonna practice to put those things in place. And if you want to do that as well, you know, it's like it's completely optional. For example, if you want to, like I mentioned many times, use some ready-made stuff, XYZ, that's a great product, you know, and just combine with the techniques you're learning here. Sometimes you're not going to get all the detail from texturing XYZ, for example, for certain areas. And then maybe if you have a knowledge about how the skin can look, even if it's idealized, like the one I make, right? Like it's an idealized skin, it's not a real skin. But if it's something that's believable when you look at it, you can use that in combination with the stuff that you have available, you know? So yeah, I think like that's the whole point I want to make about the class is that things are very simple in a way compared to overly complicated pipelines that people create to themselves, you know? But it's going to take skill and practice to put things together. That's all it is, you know? I can show you like how to do all this stuff. And I think that's what I try to do during the entire class, like show exactly how I'm doing it. If I did something the night before, I'm going to try to recap and show you guys how I did it. But other than that, it's just like, okay, your own artistic sensibility, right? Like, how am I going to build this to, for example, those pores to look like they actually have a connection between each other, right? And how much how much depth I need for each one of them. The only way to know is like looking at pictures, especially the super high resolution pictures we are looking since the beginning, and also doing renders, because you cannot trust ZBrush. I mean, like you see things in there sometimes that look deep enough, but they are not. And it's a matter like you do a few of those pores, bring to Maya straight away, render. If they look the depth is correct, then you start adding more and more stuff and testing like increasingly, you know, instead of like doing an entire face and then all of a sudden you kind of lost a lot of time, you know. But yeah, let's see how our render is doing here meanwhile. Oh man, that's overly saturated. It's not gonna help us. But for what we need, we just want to see this anyway. So let's see something like this. Let's see if it's too thick. And since I'm here, I'm just gonna cancel for a second and just change the intensity of the light. It looks very strong. And the poor girl has no eyebrows or eyelashes now. She looks like a, let me just get this outliner. And then my lights, I believe this one got a little bit too strong now. I'm gonna reduce it to maybe like half of that, 20,000. Let's see if that works just a little bit better. Yeah, it could be a little bit, I think the hair is kind of like on a little bit on the thick side. You know, I think her hair could be a little bit thinner than that. See, like it looks a little, not a little, but very wiry in there. Let's do this. Let's get both of them. So the flyaways, I have like 0.16, I believe, 14. Let's try 12. And then I'm gonna match the hair itself. So it should look, the volume is gonna come down a little bit. Let's try this. And maybe increasing a little bit of the taper might help as well to get a little bit more of a fading into a thinner hair at the tips. Yeah, I think this is gonna be better. The thickness looks better already. So yeah, 12. In my case here, I don't know for you guys in there if it's gonna be the same. I think if you're using real world scale, it should be very similar. But the density is very strong, right? I don't need all of those guys. Let's get the taper, increase the taper for the flyaways as well. Oh man, I forgot to click this one. Let's click it again. And then increase the tapering a little bit. So both of them similarly. And then let's just reduce the amount of flyaways. Let's go to the base and let's try it 50%. And obviously they are very visible in here for two reasons. The first one is that we have like a flashlight, like I said, that's hitting like straight away, like spot on. And then the other thing is that we don't have any depth of field going on here. And when you add the depth of field, you start getting like this very natural look that basically like you can see the ones in the front, but then towards the back, they just start blurring and getting more, you know, it's like more natural looking. Let's just grow this a little bit more since it's rendering faster, because I want to be able to see them down here as well. I want to see those guys, how they're behaving. And then we can talk about the camera as well. And if we have the time, maybe we can actually pose her turn her neck around or something?
But
Yeah, I can do it inside of Maya, actually. Do a little quick rig, I guess. Or I can
Oh.
just, yeah. How you guys prefer? ZBrush?
Maya.
Maya? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's see, Maya. Yeah, you see, like, I think the thickness got a little better and it's not too much now. So that should help. But then obviously, like everything I mentioned before, I mean, like you can always like freeze a few of them and just like really hand sculpt to make it look more natural. But if I have enough of those guys kind of like writing and breaking the silhouette, I think this is gonna be helpful, you know. And then obviously some areas like that right here, we're gonna need the blending of the hair as well. And then you can have like some fuzzies starting from the peach fuzz and then blending more into the hair. To create the blending, what I do, I get like a band around the between the hair connection and the skin connection here. And I just go to my peach fuzz and I just do exactly what we are doing with the rest of the stuff. I grow the hair in those areas to get them much longer, but obviously not close to as long as the actual hair is here. So let's say like from here all the way to half of the forehead. So I'm gonna make them kind of like blend into those hairs. So I might grow them so the peach fuzz becomes very long. So that's just like those blonde little fuzzies. And sometimes I even increase a tiny little bit the thickness of them by painting the thickness manually with the brush as well, so with the width brush. But the overall feeling of the hair, I think, looks cool. You know, it's just a matter of like adding the right breakups and the right design. But the feel of it and the color is not bad. I think it's gonna work at the end. So let's pause this one. I'm gonna save it, and we're gonna go to the next step. Let's get this one out of the way. So let's try this. I don't want to lose anything we just did. So we need to go through this little process. And then, yeah, so let's see if we can try to pose her. So a few tricks about the posing that I mentioned before. So I can actually show you this. Make sure that this file is saved as well. So let's save it. Because I keep working on stuff like for weeks sometimes. In ZBrush, it's pretty good at not crashing. Sometimes I have it up like for weeks with no crashes and then I just forget. So this one was saved yesterday at 1:50 in the morning. So I'm not sure if I changed anything, probably not, but just make sure. Alrighty. Yeah, I think the hair is gonna look nice at the end. You know, it's like with the once everything is in place. I don't think you guys are gonna see any updates like on my Instagram or anything for the next like couple of days because it's gonna take me a few days to actually organize the hair because it is the curves right now are a mess. They're kind of like tangled, you know. I have to actually. It's almost like dealing with cables. I have to actually untangle everything. So I'm gonna open a file in here, which is my fawn model, and I'm gonna show you the trick that I used. Let's go. I'm glad actually I selected a different name for the file because it happened before that I saved the file like this on top of a previous file, and ZBrush kind of like crashed in the middle of the saving and then corrupted the old one as well. So yeah, so in this case here it worked, but just beware, it can happen, you know. It's like if you're saving a file, try not to save to override anything you already have in there. Always save a new file because it can happen. And then once it's corrupted, it's just like you can only cry because it's not coming back. So let's open that file. It's like an old file, and I don't even know how the model looks like at this point, but let's look. Let's see, I have the fawn here. 27. When did last time I changed this file was in November of last year. But when I started it, you can see like in May of 2017 was one of my first models I posted on Instagram. So you can look in there. My history is basically like one of the first ones. But then I kept doing some other passes over time. but it's not even close to what I want at this point. I need to detail the entire thing. And my intention is to actually push this model to have like all kinds of pore detail and everything and go full on with a realistic portrait, but also keep it loose like that because my plan is to actually have this model transform into a wooden sculpture. So that's the plan, to have like a life-size wooden sculpture. But I have to finish like horns and stuff like that. But what I want to show you here is this. Look, so he's looking sideways, right? It's like has this slight rotation in the face right there in relation to the neck. But you can see when I lock in it here, it's completely symmetrical. It's because you can always cheat, right? Like for example, if you want to cause like a rotation of the face, you can actually pretend you're rotating the face and keep it in the same place because I can still use my symmetry if I need to. And what I did, I actually selected the neck and I rotated the neck. So in her case, because I already have all this stuff in place, like the hair is in place, the eyes are in place and everything, I can do everything in Maya. And to do in Maya, I have to use some bones in there, some joints, and rig the entire thing, paint like some area of a weight map, right, for the neck, so actually you can have a nice rotation for the neck in there. Doesn't doesn't take too long, but then I have to parent or constrain those the eyes, for example, the tongue, the teeth, and all this stuff into a group or parent it to a constraint, and then parent into the joints as well. And then that way I can actually move the entire thing, right? Like I can rotate the head and then it goes together with the eyes and with everything else that's connected to it. But if you want a simple solution, this is the best I can think of. If you want to create something that's just a cheat for a portrait, for example, if you're going to see your character just like shoulders and head, or maybe like a little bit more open like this, if you have the body in there, you can rotate the body and get done with it. It's like you don't need to worry about rigging or anything like that. So at this point here, let's try that with Jessica. So let's open the file again. And then obviously you're gonna have to change the angle you're rendering things. You're not gonna, once you rotated the body, you don't wanna rotate the body and still render the face full on, like facing you, right? You wanna make sure that you have at least like a little bit more of an interesting composition in there. So let's go to Jessica and just like, let's change this model slightly. Load it. Yeah, my plan is to actually come up with a bunch of original designs for creatures and stuff. And then just like this guy, it's like this was done I picked, like, if you look at my history, I have like a month that I did like 9 different models. It was kind of like one every like 2 nights I would make one of those. And I create this like bunch of different creatures. There was like, there is this kind of like a orangutan guy. There's this guy here, and there's a lady that she has like kind of like a vagina on her chest, and then her hands going through her skin. And a bunch of different characters. The Indian guy with the scorpion head as well. So all those I did like as quick sketches in one night, and the next night I would refine them. And it's very cool because you see like this process that we go through, like it's painful, right? To go like all the detail that we add, like pores and everything. It's a very like a peculiar and time-consuming process. It takes like weeks, if not months, to come up with a realistic portrait. But I like the idea of like having those loose concepts that I can actually have fun with and create like little sculptures at the end, so people can actually, collectors can actually have a little piece. So I think that's what's going to be the next step for me. Probably like going to put the classes on pause for a little bit and try to see if they can run it themselves with the pre-recorded stuff, and then just like concentrate into like a more like a free form kind of art instead of like going like super, you know what I mean. So let's see. Let's just select this area here. Going to go all the way to the middle of the neck around there. And I can actually do a little symmetrical, yes. So click. Actually, it's not doing anything because I turned it off, this feature. You have to press Control and click inside of the mask to blur it. But what I did was my preferences here. Under Edit, I turned it off. So Control, click to blur mask. I'm going to click this one back. And now it should work. So let's see what we have here. Let's do a little bit more. And let's try to blur it. So I'm gonna turn off my symmetry, press X. Gonna press Alt to open, so it's unlocked. I'm gonna click this little guy here with Alt pressed. So now it basically like reset the rotation. With Alt pressed still, I'm gonna click this little guy here. It's gonna go to the middle of the unselected area. And then I'm gonna go Alt again, and I'm gonna reposition it around here by clicking this little triangle at the corner. I'm gonna go around here. Yeah, and maybe Alt as well. I'm gonna adjust the angle now to something around here. Actually, I'm gonna keep it straight first. Let's try that. Let's see what happens if I have it straight. So I'm gonna rotate it around. See, it's actually eating part of her jaw, and we don't want that. So I'm gonna just like select the jaw in here. So X, I'm gonna just paint it with the mask brush. So I'm gonna go here. Make sure that that's locked. Don't want any fall off right there. Falafel. Let's see. Yeah, it's still a little crappy there. Yeah, it's gonna be a matter of like finding the correct amount. Let's just do it with a little bit more intensity here. Something like that. Let's see if it's too bad. So not terrible, but not great. Oh, I have the symmetry on, so let's try this. So let's say you're turning her face for the portrait. She's gonna be looking from here, maybe like from here to here. So I can actually just do the rotation the opposite way, actually this way. And then obviously, like you can play with like different types of angles, right? You can do a little bit more of a, you know, one shoulder higher than the other one. And something like that, you know, it's like, or even play with the, you know, if she's like kind of like, you know, it's like looking up or something like that. So you can play with the angles in there. And but let's say like something like this looks okay. So what we're gonna do is just gonna smooth it out. Or we're gonna have to do a little resculpting just to adjust that. Or I can paint like a different, better mask as well, right? That if I'm more careful, I don't need to do this. And then here the sternocleidomastoid mask I got compromised. So I'm gonna have to actually bring it out. Bring this one in a little bit. But you know what I mean? I mean, you're gonna have to adjust and get the sculpturing like in form again. But in here, for this guy here is looking weird. I think my topology is not helping there. But if it's something like this, right? Let's say you spend like another half an hour doing this, you're gonna have like a clean neck. And then you see like you can cause the same effect. You can render from this angle here. It's gonna look like it's someone who is actually asymmetrical because it's like posed, but the face is completely symmetrical. So you can still use it if you want to move around like bigger forms and stuff like that. You can rely on it. You can use the transform active symmetry and then use the posable symmetry. So you can still use the posable symmetry, even if you change the symmetry a lot. If you have like a completely symmetrical face, as long as you have the mesh symmetrical, the topology, you still can play with it. And you know, from here, like you can basically like, you know, symmetrically just based on topology, as you know. And then let's go and bring this model, the mid resolution, back to Maya and see what's going to happen in there. Now with the hair, it's another thing, right? Like the hair is actually all conformed to a neutral pose. Not quite actually, but close. But now I'm going to have to actually plan the hair to conform to this new neutral pose, which is the posed one. So let's see, Maya. So let's bring it to here. Let's get her model and just remind you of the process. So basically, just import the model, OBJ. I'm gonna go to my OBJ here, jazz head, jazz hands. And then see the face basically matches, right? But the neck now is different. So I'm gonna click the new model, click the old model, go to animation, go to deform, the option box for blend shape. Just make sure you don't have anything checked in here. So no in between, just local. You can give any name you want. Something you're gonna find easy, CCC. CCC. Apply it. Now I have my CCC in here, it showed up. Click on it, just bring it all the way up. I'm gonna take a little bit because it's gonna try to recalculate the hair, whatever it is doing there. So it conformed. So now I can actually go to my history. So I have my shortcut in here, but it's basically like under edit and then delete by type and then history. Not to delete all by type. This is the one that's gonna screw up the XGen if you use, but the delete by type is fine. So if you click this one, I have both models selected, the new one and the old one. It's gonna click history and then deleted it. And now I can actually just delete the new one, keep like the old one in place because that's the one that has everything connected already. So that's the new model with the posed neck. Now, obviously, you're gonna have to do that, right? Like you're not gonna be rendering something like this unless you really want. But I mean, like the whole purpose of doing that is probably like if you want to do like a more candid kind of shot. In this case here, the portrait's looking like this. She's turning this way. You at least we're expecting her to look at you. So you're probably going to have to, you know, to rotate the eyes. So she's looking at you. And then for this type of composition, I would do, I would go to view and then camera settings, and I would probably turn on the field chart, not to be confused with chart because of my accent. So like field chart, and I'm gonna click this one. And then now I have like this grid in here. And then you can actually play with, you know, it's like if you are into photography, the law of thirds, you know, it's like you can play, try to get that. You can try to get like one of the eyes closer to the center, for example. It all depends on what type of composition we're gonna go for, right? In her case, if I'm doing a portrait of her, my plan is to have some kind of like a landscape in the background, maybe like one of those world creation softwares, you know? I don't know which ones are the ones that they have available these days, but back in the day was like the Bryce, remember that? If you're old, you remember Bryce. It was like the world creation tool. But it would be cool to have some of those crazy ones they have nowadays and create those mountains with vegetation and everything. To create some kind of like a classic portrait that looks a little bit more like the, you know, it's like some of Da Vinci's or whatever, you know. So in that case, I would pose her kind of like around here. Pay attention to the composition itself. I would maybe like tweak that to make the eye look at me at this position. Instead of like making something completely straight like this, because that doesn't help with the naturalism, right? So it's like you can see this line here. If I make it straight, it's basically like it's almost like a straight line, although I have a little rotation, so that's helping out a little bit already. To add rotation sideways, I normally use this tool here, which is the other camera tools. I have this, which one is the one I use? The roll tool? No, the tumble tool. So the tumble tool does this. Actually, not the tumble tool. It's the, I forgot. It's been a while. So this roll tool, I believe. So the roll tool does this. So that's what you want. So for example, like if I go back here, I just go back to the pose I wanted for the portrait. It's all about intention as well, right? Like if you want her to look more regal or something like that, you might want to do the chin up slightly, right? So you're gonna go a little bit more from below. And then in that case, I'm gonna keep it maybe like here, the corner of the eye closer to the center. I would get, you know, it's like select, actually do my rolling here, just to prevent like the completely straight line. I would maybe add a little bit of, you know, a little bit of an angle, either way. Probably not this way, since she's, her head is like that. I'm gonna lean forward a little bit. So I'm gonna create that impression by rotating the entire thing slightly like this. And then I can actually select the camera and then create a keyframing here. So I can actually save that. I can remove the field chart under settings, so remove that one. And now that it's saved, my camera, I can just go to the eyes themselves. And depends on how you actually froze the transformations for your eyes. In my case here, I have each one individually, and basically like the way I have my eyes structured here, they have the I, R, and IL, and they comprise everything. They have everything included. So they have the caruncula in there, they have the tear line, right? So everything is included. So the tear line is right there, the caruncula, and then the eyeball itself. So the eyeball, inside of it, I have the cornea, and then I have the iris itself, and the pupil, and then the lens. That's the little bubble that we put inside. So basically, like if the eyeball is like that, it's easy for me to just rotate the whole thing if the rotation is in the center. Another thing that happens that you have to pay attention is this. If I isolate this object here, you're gonna see this was a very crappy, quick centering that I did. So I select the object and just press center, right? So you select the object, which is basically the entire group. And if you go to modify and just press center, it should center the pivot, right? But that's not a correct pivot because you're not taking into account this bubble right here. So if you go from another angle, from the front or from the side, you're gonna have to find out where that little point is. So if I make it transparent here, probably gonna find out that it should be, oops, if you press insert, you can actually move this guy around. So I'm gonna probably have to bring it back a little bit. So let's see from another angle. Or you can just create another object around it and simply conform to that object like a complete perfect sphere. And then from that point on, you can just like conform this one to that sphere as well. It's another way to do it. And that way you can actually center in the sphere and do it. I'm doing manually here, but I can tell that this is the middle part, right? So that's the middle of this sphere. And then everything else here is just this bulge. So if I go from here, let's see if it's in the middle. It looks like that doesn't look like it's going up or down too much. In this case here, to get the middle, I'm gonna have the average of those two lines. So that's kind of gonna be the middle in there. And then minus or plus to actually grow the manipulator. So if you get in trouble with it. So that should be kind of like the middle of it. And then for the other guy, you're gonna do the same. So this guy, and actually it's hidden, so it's gonna hide, and this guy here. So let's do the same. So we have the same rotation. Insert. Let's move this guy all the way here. The middle mouse click. That should be pretty close. And then from the side, I'm gonna move it in between those lines. That's the average because there's a little rotation sideways in there. So like precise enough, not not crazy precise. Let's see. I like leaving things like a little bit not precise on purpose. It's like it's the more you try to make things too perfect, the less you sell the idea that's something realistic. So if you have like you always leave a little room for almost like a mistakes on purpose. So let's see this one. Eyes. Let's go back to this one, and now I can select both of them. And since I have the rotation in place, it should be easy for me to just rotate them all together. So let's go to my posing here, and let's see it from this angle. Actually, let's say like this, and rotate them slightly towards me, and bring it down slightly since she's going to be looking slightly up, right? Like the angle of the camera is a little bit low, so we're gonna have to bring the eyes a little bit more towards me now. Let's see. Only wait for us to judge. Actually, this angle is much nicer as a portrait, huh? Just like by accident right there, than this one. This one looks a little not so great. So let's see. In terms of the intensity of my light, I'm not sure what's gonna happen here, but I can adjust it. Oh, and we're gonna have to add some eyelashes. Did I add the eyelashes? I think I forgot the top eyelashes.
Yeah, I think you did.
Yeah, she's gonna be a little weird. Let me just wait until Maya does a little bit of work here. But you see, like I think that's that's a very simple solution for the posing. You know, it's like it's not the kind of stuff like you need to do for a portrait. If you're animating, of course, like you're gonna need to have a nice rig, and then have the painting the weights. It's gonna take some time to paint decent weights to have a rotation of the neck looking perfect. You're gonna need probably like, I would say like maybe minimum would be like 3 joints in the neck in here, and then a big joint just for the head itself. But at least 3 in here to get like a nice like you know, overlap between the rotations between them. And oh man, it's still calculating. Oh, it's actually saving the XGen. That's why. But let's see if we get a tiny little render here before we can wrap. But and also you asked something about the constraint. I can talk about it very quickly as well. You know, it's like reconstraining the camera and showing you how I did it, just so you don't need to go and search for it in the videos. But let's see. Go, Maya. Don't let me down now. Yeah, you guys are right. I mean, like I keep a lot of stuff open at all times, so that's another thing I can start doing, closing a bunch of things. No. Fine. So it's saved. That's good. So let's cancel this and wait a few seconds until Maya thinks about canceling it. And let's add some. Okay, that's good. Let's add those hairs, upper eyelashes. I totally forgot. And then the rest is in there. Cool. Let's do a little render and see if we can get anything half decent. Oh, that's not good. That doesn't show like I have any lights in there. So that's another thing we have to turn on. Otherwise it doesn't render. There you go. Look at this. The invisible woman. That's amazing. Yeah, that's the thing that happens, you know, like I told you guys in the group, if you're poking around and hiding stuff and changing maps and shaders and things like that, or lighting too much, hiding lights especially, and unhiding them, it gets into this weird state that you actually have to do a full update. So I'm gonna update the scene so you can actually clear its caches. And oh man, it's gonna do the same again. Look, the XGen saving again. It sucks. I mean, you shouldn't be doing this every time, but I don't know if it was because I made the eyelashes visible. Maybe that's the case. I don't know. Because as soon as you have all the hair in place and visible, I don't think it does this every time. I don't remember doing this every time. I think it's just if you unhide certain things, it has to actually generate the hair. I don't know if like at render time it converts into polygons or something like that, but I think it has to compile the scene to create like a full-on geometric representation of everything before it renders. I think that's what it's doing right now. That's why it takes a long time. But I might be wrong. It might be some kind of voodoo magic with the Arnold that I'm not aware of. Okay, let's try that. But I just want to say, guys, that it's been my pleasure to be with you guys. Like the group is really cool, and you guys are super talented. You know, it's like there's every single class we have like a lot of talent that subscribe to those classes, and it's just like unbelievable. And look at that, she's refusing to render her head now. Is that the right model I'm using here? Let's see. Seems like a little.
I have the same issue on my end. I have a scene with like 3 characters.
Oh yeah.
And I'll have 2 of them to render, but then the middle one doesn't. So I have a bunch of like floating body parts.
Oh man, that sucks. Let's try this. Check this out. Did you try to go to Arnold and then under flush caches, did you try to flush everything?
It'll usually work after I update full scene 2-3 times.
Ah.
But.
Huh. Let's see what happens here if it does anything different. But yeah, it sucks. That's the thing I was talking about before. You know, it's like with Arnold. Yeah, it didn't work again. With Arnold in Linux at work, it's been working fine. You know, it's like I don't need to do all these updates all the time. Seems like it's a Windows kind of thing. I might be wrong. I mean,
No, it's definitely a lot more stable on Linux than Windows.
yeah, I believe.
Maya in general.
Mm-hmm. Yep. But again, guys, I mean, like it's been an absolute pleasure, like just like be with you guys at night, and then like talk to you about this stuff. And like at the end of the day, you know, it's like I'm here doing the teaching, right? But at the same time, we are all artists, and we always struggle with the similar kind of stuff. You know, it's like I think like all of us that suffer a little bit of like imposter syndrome. You know, it's like we always think that we suck. You know, it's like people around us are much better and stuff like that. And but I think it's like it's normal. You know, it's like in the struggle, it's cool that, you know, stuff that you're going through right now, either I went through or I'm actually suffering with it, with you guys right now. You know, it's like going through the same stuff. And I mean, like that's the whole thing that's cool about those classes. You know, it's like it's this sense of being in a group of people studying something. You know, not I'm the guy actually coming up with those little, you know, my little pipeline, the way I do stuff. It's kind of like different from what a lot of people do and everything, because I do kind of like try to keep everything simple and more like a, you know, artistic side than a technical side. But I mean, like it's just cool to share it. You know, I thank you guys a lot for, you know, for the support to me. You know, it's like it's a small tiny business with me and my wife. Basically, she's my employee right now, but she's not doing anything other than take care of the kids, which is great, by the way. She's actually being compensated for her. But I mean, like it's just like a startup kind of thing. You know, I'm a self-made person. I mean, like I never had anyone handing me anything. So it's cool to just have support from someone without like having to go and asking for donations or a Kickstarter or anything. You know, it's like just starting something and seeing that people actually value what I do, and just like coming and showing up. You know, it's like and being here with me. So that's really great, guys. And I cannot thank you guys enough for this. And I hope you enjoy. You know, it's like the entire experience. And I hope you keep enjoying it, because there are like the other 2 full classes available to you guys. So you're gonna have access to those 3 classes, and each one of them have a different character. And each one of them are going to be doing things maybe slightly different, because some stuff I learned during the classes, you know, it's like, and I try to improve, or just like a variation of what I was doing before. So it's cool to just like see all those sides of the way I'm doing things. But it's also a big torture, because listening to myself, I cannot do that. So I don't know how you guys can. But yeah, it's been great, guys. Thank you so much. We are almost ready, but we still have to see a little bit of this render here before you go. And also make sure that you submit your stuff so we can look at it. You know, don't be too shy about it. It's your chance to actually have it evaluated. You know, it's like I can be super nice to you guys and not go to, you know, it's like pinpoint everything. Or I can just like be completely honest about it and just like try to help you guys. And that's how I try to approach every time, you know. I trust that I'm not be like hurting your feelings, because nothing is personal at all. You know, if I'm mentioning something about the work, is really concerned about something that I think you guys can improve, you know. And obviously it's very easy for someone to point, you know, it's like at your work and say, oh, this is not working, right? Like, or this is not completely correct. And completely be blind about my own work. And that's what happens a lot of times, right? Sometimes I see myself in those videos, you know, commenting on other people's work. And I was like, dude, you said that about the work, but the work actually looks really good. And you have that problem in your own work. So, you know, it's like, I have to play this role, right? I'm the guy here actually doing the reviews, but, you know, it's like you guys have a great sense of design and are great artists, you know. It's like most of you guys, when you subscribed, I was like, oh, holy shit, this guy subscribed to this class. That's amazing. It's because I get inspired back, you know, and I see that some of you guys are taking slow right now because you're taking in a lot of information. But I'm pretty sure a lot of this stuff is going to come in a later time when you start putting together those pieces of information to your own work. And I'm going to be like that proud papa, you know, it's like, hey, that's very cool, man. It's a treat to watch.
Chris.
Yes.
I think
Actually, I think for us is very good to see a completely different perspectives from what everyone was doing till now.
Yeah.
The fact that it's so artistic, actually, I was talking just with Bima about it. Like, I think the good thing about this class is the fact that everything is so simplified. So we are
Mhm.
not talking about very complex, shader networks or anything. So it's as
Yes.
simple as it goes. But it's just artistic. So that's probably the only complexity that there is. So we are not helping ourselves from X, Y, Z maps and this kind of stuff.
Yes.
But
Yes.
it's just totally artistic, and I like the approach. It's
Mhm.
obviously a bit more difficult even for me because I'm just so used to the shortcuts, right?
Yes.
Just the
Exactly.
black maps and everything. But the result is better. So I don't know. For me, it's like a really open-minded all this whole experience.
That's awesome, man. It's awesome to hear because
Yeah.
like you are awesome, man. I love your work. And like watching your stuff is really cool. It's like so many guys like doing amazing work. And but your stuff, man, especially with the Game of Thrones, stuff, so awesome, man. Like the hair you did, it's really, really sweet, man. Really, really cool.
Yeah, but still, it's like when I see my work, like even the God characters, like when I compare to any of your portraits, like damn man, like
Man, that's
such a big deal, especially on the skin and everything. Like I'm so far away from all of that. So it's like for me,
no,
it's very
man, no.
important taking this kind of
I,
classes because
I tell you, man, like, and I'm not being like, sugarcoating or anything. It's mutual, It's like the work that I see you guys posting stuff, like it really inspires me to try to do better, And I mean, like, I'm such an old fart, It's like you're so young and you guys are already so freaking amazing, And I'm just like getting out of this industry. I told my wife like a couple of years ago, I said, you know what? I'm kind of done with the industry. And every time you watch like any of my talks in different conferences and stuff, I always mention some stuff. It's like I don't know if you watched me like the summit last year, but I said like I mean I have this number in my head. I want to work in 30 movies, and that's basically it. If I work in 30 movies, I'm gonna be happy with it, and I'm gonna be done with it. And then I'm at 31 now, basically. So I kind of like overdue to to get out of the industry. And the thing is I see like a lot of it's like over those like almost 20 years since I started to show stuff on the internet and everything. There is always hate, It's like you're always gonna find someone hating your guts. And the thing that's interesting is that after all this time, after like I don't know, like 17, 18 years in doing this kind of stuff and posting online and dealing with haters and all this stuff, at this point, people think that they can hurt me somehow, And I tell my wife all the time, I mean, like, I don't care because, I mean, like, what I had to do in this industry, I believe I already did. It's like nobody can take the credits away from the stuff I worked on. In terms of like hurting financially, I mean, like we have a good, equity in our house. I mean, like we could potentially sell this house and move 20 places in the country and live a very small life, but still a happy life, I have no problem with any of this stuff. And people think that, it's like sometimes some hater come and sends you like a hate mail talking about like your career and it can destroy you or something like that. I was like, dude, it's like, go ahead. I mean, like, I don't care if I have to live a small life doing woodwork and having it like being happy doing woodwork. Having like a wood shop is my dream, to have a wood shop and build some tables and stuff. I'm going to be happy with that. I don't have like this major, people think like I have a big ego that I want like the world for myself. It's like, no, I can live with a very, very simple means, And my wife is the same. She says like, I'm kind of tired of like all this, civilization kind of thing. Let's move to to the farm or something like that. It's like, yeah.
But all of that actually makes sense, and even to put in a big context, I mean, it's not only about haters and stuff, but it's something also about social media that kind of spoil us how we see the world.
Yeah.
So I think it's very important also for us, like the fact how we tackle social media, how we even show our work or whatever, but really take it so seriously, So and not so obsessively as well.
Yeah.
Very important.
I mean,
So,
like I make a lot of theaters as well, right? Like this whole thing, the episode, I basically purged half of all my friends on Facebook, and I made this whole theater about it. I'm playing this monster, right? Like I'm kind of like Godzilla, just smashing everybody. But the thing is, like, I was actually observing. I had to scroll down all the way my list of friends, and I tried to pick the people who I never see ever posting anything on my timeline. and people who were completely like, it's like they unfollowed me, probably. And a lot of the profiles I just like removed, they are basically like ghost profiles, people who don't exist anymore on Facebook, or who created a different profile and just ignored that one. So I removed all this stuff that was there. And by doing that, what happened is that like my friends posting on Facebook or interacting with me didn't go down at all. It's basically like it's actually more. I'm getting more likes and stuff. But it's just like I freak out sometimes because what happened just recently is that same forum, and those bastards are going to be watching this video, by the way, because they're going to get access to it. But that forum that actually leaked my videos and start like distributing everything, I saw like a picture of my game room in there, posted with my wife and my kids in there. I was like, what the hell? It's like people were taking stuff like pictures of my family and
that's creepy.
And posting like in shady forums. He was like, man, I'm not liking this stuff at all. So that's why I kind of like, you know what? Anyone who either I have like not interacted at all, or has some, kind of like creepy behavior or something like that. I was like, you know what? These people have to go. I'm going to have to reduce my list quite a bit.
I don't see the picture though. I never seen it before.
The picture what?
Picture with your family.
With my family? Oh yeah, it's in my Facebook. I mean, like I had like a picture of me in the game room with the kids playing the pinball machines and stuff.
Oh.
And then someone thought it was cool to just like share that and crap on it, so I can say like, oh, my game room is better. So it's like, yeah, it's like all this. It's crazy because people they are so brave when they are anonymous. It's like it's very easy to be brave when you're anonymous. I'm a very public person, not like in terms of being famous or anything, but being public, like what you get from me. It's like if I'm being a dick on Facebook, I'm being sincere about the way I feel about something. It's like I'm not gonna be the guy who's gonna play the nice guy and then backstab you ever. It's like I'm gonna be sincere, I'm gonna say the way it is. And I would hope that people would be like this with me, but no, there's a bunch of shady people, it's like out there, and it just sucks. That's why I kind of like back in the day, I kind of stopped posting in forums altogether. I kind of vanished because there's a lot of this tiny little toxicity, in this environment. And it's always like normally like when it comes like jealousy or people just hating your guts for whatever reason, or sometimes just like butthurt with something you did, it's like I didn't accept someone's friend request and all of a sudden the person starts hating me, So you never know, man. So that's why I kind of like, at some point I'm going to vanish again and just like go back to my cave and do my own thing and just like pop out from time to time just to announce, oh, there's a new piece here, if you're interested, here you go, there's a resin piece or something like that. But yeah, man, I'm just like, people have this idea that I wanted glamour or something like that in this industry. I was like, I'm out of this. I'm kind of like, I'm having fun with the little fame and everything and with the stuff that happens on Facebook. But at this point, I don't care that much. I'm kind of like almost 50. I want to live like a quiet, happy life with my 2 kids and my wife. That's it.
Yeah, and okay, yeah, exactly. Just leave it behind. It's like,
yeah,
it's literally just internet it's a weird place or whatever.
It's a weird place, yeah, and it's like toxic, and people like you never know the person behind the keyboard because especially anonymous people, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Even in person, they will never behave like that. So
never.
It just work in this way. It's kind of strange.
A lot of those guys are very like they're puppies when they meet you in person. Yeah, but yeah. Anyway,
Chris.
Yes.
Have you ever heard about Nook before?
Nook,
yeah. It's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like
color correcting and
yes, color correcting and then filtering, something like that.
Yeah.
Man, your stuff gonna be complicated if you add that as well.
Yeah. I know that the ILM they use Nook a lot. It's like yeah. What's the other one they use is Nook and something else. What's the other one? Quite famous as well. Yeah, they use a bunch of different ones for that purpose. Yeah, but yeah, guys. So this render is gonna take a little while here, but probably gonna see something posted on Facebook in a couple of days or so. At least with a little base of the hair showing something in there,
Chris,
yes.
Just one question now. You guys were asking about color correction. I think you mentioned that you use a tiny software just to make the color correction.
I use a tiny what?
A software for the color correction. I
Oh,
think
it's
you mentioned
software.
the first classes. Yes.
Oh,
Uh,
what I have is actually, let me see if I have it here.
yes.
You mean like for my monitor and stuff?
No, not for
Oh,
the
no, no,
monitor,
no,
for
no.
color correction
Oh,
on
for
the
color correction.
image.
Yeah. So sometimes I use is the plugin in Photoshop I just show or something else? Is that the plugin I just was just showing just now? Or
No, well, I don't remember, but I think on the first classes you talk about that every time you work in color correction after the render is done,
Mhm.
you run it through a software. I think I heard that. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
I'm not sure.
I think that's the same one. It's the alien
Oh,
skin.
okay.
Yeah, alien skin, and then using some of those presets to start with, and then tweaking a lot of it. And also, I have Lightroom. I bought Lightroom like many years ago, and I updated it a few times. So it ended up like being 571 was the last version, because after that I have to buy Lightroom 6, and I'm just like, no, I don't need it. But Lightroom is actually very cool because you can get like some color presets. There is this one that's for weddings. This guy created this awesome set that's for weddings. That's called Fig Tree, and then wedding preset. And he has the hummingbird as well. So I bought both from him, and it's pretty cool because it creates this effect like this, kind of like washed, right? So if I kind of like remove it, so you have like those different presets in here. So I like Lightroom because of that. You can create some very interesting effects, with those presets. Those are commercial presets, but I think I paid I think it was like $15, like $15, and I had like a bunch of them. It's just like everything is kind of ready to go. But yeah, if I want something fancy, I use something like this, some presets. I have my own presets here for wedding and black and white and stuff like that I created, like bluish black and white. But those ones are kind of like too saturated right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I'll try
But
that one.
that's
Cool.
basically like Lightroom. And then the other one is the one I was showing. Is called Alien Skin. And Alien Skin is called, why is this one not? Oh, this one. Let's get this guy. It's called Alien Skin Exposure. So right now is Exposure 4. That's the latest version. Probably has much more filters now, and it's probably more stable as well. And it's about $119. And for the record, I don't have any relation with those guys. I wish I was making money with it. But yeah, it's a cool software, man. I really like it. And but yeah, guys, again, thank you so much for being part of this with me. And I cannot wait for to see the stuff you're going to come up with. It's like I know that's a lot of stuff, and by all means, you don't need to use everything that I mentioned, because I agree it's a very unusual way of doing a lot of things. But if you can use in combination with whatever you have already, I think you can actually introduce a little bit more of a little boost in the work. And then that's my hope, it's like that I can help you guys somehow. But again, you guys are already very experienced with stuff, and I have a lot to learn with you too as well. So thanks again, guys, and I'm gonna see you around the group. And obviously Facebook and Instagram, we are mostly connected in there. A lot of us are already there connected. And then Saturday morning, we are here again, Saturday morning and at night, so we can actually review your work. So don't be shy if you have anything to show. I don't care if it takes me 5 hours again. I'm gonna be my pleasure to do the review for you.
Chris,
Yes.
actually, we live nearby. I'm in San Francisco.
Oh, that's awesome, man.
Yeah.
We have. Do you know ILM?
Yeah, I know ILM. I mean, I always, back in the day, I always hang out there near Yoda statue. Yeah, I have picture.
But did you ever visit the ILM inside?
No, I never visit ILM inside.
Let's set it up, man. It's very easy for me to give you a tour.
All right, cool.
Yeah. Let's keep in touch, because I mean, like,
okay.
Any person ever who asked me to do like a tour at ILM, and I mean like a lot of people that came from Brazil in the past, it's like, oh, can we do the tour? It's like, sure. And I didn't even know the person, So anytime, I mean, like any of you guys in the class right now, if you are in San Francisco, if you want to visit ILM, give me a shout first, because I have to put your name in the system in there. And then like normally the best days are Fridays, because it's basically like the day that everybody comes like with family and friends. They have like a kind of like how you call like the demo reel for like the latest movies we worked on. So they air that stuff like in the movie theater we have in there, which is gigantic. It's a big movie theater with THX sound, all that fancy stuff, super loud, and beautiful stuff. You know, it's like in the company. I mean, like we have so many props and stuff from movies. Like it's kind of like a museum of movie history, right? Like basically that's what it is. And then I believe that George is going to take a lot of this stuff and have everything in his own museum when it's done. But for now, we have still like a lot of props in there, you know. So it's going to be my pleasure. If any of you guys are interested, just let me know. And I can give you guys a tour on a Friday at lunch. So we can get lunch together and walk around and see stuff.
Well, not this week, though, because we have, you know, finals to do on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. No. Anytime, man. Just like keep in touch and we can do this.
I always keep my Facebook on.
Yeah. There you go. All right, guys. You have a great one. And I see you very soon.
Thank you, Chris.
Awesome. Thanks, Chris.
Thanks, Chris. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
Chris.